High in the Andes lay the ruins of the historic royal retreat of the Inca Empire. Hidden from the outside world for centuries, Machu Picchu was rediscovered in 1911. The indigenous people of Peru still farm this valley. Eusebio Mendez Atao and his family live in the small mountain village of El Palomar. They farmed the land, as did Eusebio's father and grandfather, for the last 100 years. They own 4 bulls, 2 pigs, and a few chickens. Today, Eusebio hauls his primitive plow up the mountain for another day's work. Still, he holds no legal title to the land on which his livelihood depends.
Mis abuelos han sido nacidos acá siempre. Ellos primero han sido como dueños acá, mis abuelos.
One day, a stranger from the city presented Eusebio's grandfather with a title, claiming the land was his.
Entonces ya quería votarle a mis abuelos. Entonces de ahí ya, por no dejar el terreno, bueno, si quieres seguir trabajando ese terreno, esa parcela, bueno, ya pues trabaja entonces para mí, diciendo lo había dicho, trabaja para mí.
Over the centuries, this sacred valley of the Incas has had many owners. Stretching more than 2,000 miles, the empire once controlled the land from Ecuador to southern Chile. Inca kings extracted tributes from local farmers until Spanish conquistadors conquered the land in the 16th century. Since then, Peruvian governments have often dictated land ownership. As a boy, Eusebio had only one option: to work for the man who had claimed ownership of the land.
Todo el día tenía que pasear su oveja, entonces mi papá también tenía que trabajar. Triste era, ¿no? La situación a veces no puedo recordar, porque triste ha sido mi sufrimiento. A veces cuando se perdía una oveja así en el cerro, a veces el zorro, el puma así se lo comía y a veces no me daba cuenta, como eran hartos. Entonces ahí me descuentaba entonces.
Life is still difficult today. Eusebio rearranges stones in the mountain stream to let the water run through the trenches he has dug. This primitive means of irrigation has been passed from father to son for centuries. This afternoon, Eusebio's sons will help him in the fields. Most days, Eusebio and his wife Zenobia work from dawn till dusk.
Para mí mi tierra, el terreno es que se llama como si fuera un oro, o como si fuera una plata, porque de ahí yo como, de ahí comen mis hijos.
In 1969, the Peruvian government took the land from the large property owners, but instead of distributing it to individual farmers, they established cooperatives, and no individual was allowed to own the land. Once again, Eusebio had only one option. To stay on the land, he and Zenobia would have to work for the cooperative, whose directors were appointed by bureaucrats in the capital of Lima.
Entonces seguíamos, peor que los hacendados nos explotaban, los dirigentes ya también. No era sueldo, sino salario nomás era, diario $1.50, o mucho más, pues para ellos sí tomaban cerveza cuando viajaban al Cusco. Por ejemplo, los dirigentes tienen hasta ahorita su casa, su carro, ¿no? Tractores que tenía la cooperativa se lo han vendido ellos, y eso lo tenían que poner en el banco de la plata, y ellos se gozaban con eso.
For years, Eusebio and his neighbors fought the system without success. Nearby, Sebastiana Flores farms a small plot of land with her husband and 2 sons. Another neighbor, Alejandrina Huamonde Chavez, farms the land alone. her husband has left to earn money in the city. In their fight to own property, Eusebio and his neighbors have allies they have never met.
2/3 of the world's population are locked out of the capitalist system. 4 billion people that have no property rights, that have no recognized legal business associations, and no recognized legal means to identify themselves.
Hernando de Soto is president of the Institute for Liberty and Democracy, headquartered in Lima. The Economist magazine calls it one of the 2 most important research organizations in the world. It fights for property rights and the rule of law to ensure that no one gains special treatment from government. Working one-on-one, its field researchers pave the way for reform.
We all talk about a global economy and a global world. And yet, we know very little about how 2/3 of the world lives. And it is important that we get acquainted with them because they are the majority of the world's population. What you need to participate in the capitalist game are assets.
Eusebio's only asset is the land. But without legal title, he cannot get a loan to buy more seed or more land. Without legal title, he cannot borrow to educate his children or improve his home. And without legal title, he cannot benefit from the sale of the property, nor could his father or grandfather.
So we've got to understand that either we quickly make capitalism friendly to the majority, or they'll always be on the outside looking in, and every day as they see the disparities of wealth, they'll get angrier and angrier.
Había desesperación. Como te digo, en mi sueño yo quería ver siempre el título, pero con ese sueño siempre me despertaba en la tarde, en la mañana, en la noche, igual era para mí.
Eusebio's dreams are but the beginning of a series of complex issues.
Creating the rule of law is, of course, not a silver bullet. Development is very complex, like life itself. You've got education that's involved. You've got health that's necessary. You've got enforcement that is all part of it. But if you do not have an order that tells you who owns what, who is where, and who's accountable for what, none of the rest work.
Today, Eusebio's village is preparing for a special ceremony. It will begin with a traditional pachamanga. Pachamanga literally means earth food. The entire meal is cooked over hot stones and under wet straw and earth. A feast like this is reserved for a celebration. And today is a day to celebrate. Reforms set in motion years before are finally beginning to reach the mountain villages of Peru. The government has made it possible for individuals to get title to the land. With a signature or a fingerprint, it becomes official. Years, often centuries of waiting have come to an end. Legal title is theirs at last. With this simple ceremony, lives can now change. Sebastiana will be able to make much-needed improvements to her home. Alejandrina's hopes are closer to reality. She will soon get a loan for seed to plant more corn and to help pay for her children's education.
Alegre, contenta ahorita como que está fatigando que estamos uno, ¿no? Al ver el título.
The title says it all. The land finally belongs to Eusebio and his family.
Yo tengo 47 años y recién veo mi título, ¿no? Mis papás ya se han finado ya, pero ellos ya no han visto ya. Gracias. Gracias. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Como te digo, en mi sueño yo quería ver siempre el título.